Okay, when the cops come talk to you, and they will, what are you going to tell them?
Talk to my attorney.
Yeah. Tell them, Jimmy sent you. Okay, and where are you going to be November 12th at 3 p.m.?
I'll be there, but if it doesn't ring at 3 on the dot, I'm gone.
Don't worry, it's going to ring.
Hey guys, Kiwi here. In this video, I'll be breaking down and discussing the Breaking Bad flash forward scene during Season 4, Episode 5 of Better Call Saul. More specifically, the phone call that Saul tells Francesca about while we give our Season 6 predictions. Warning of spoilers for Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul up to the Season 5 finale. Just before the events of Breaking Bad Season 5, Episode 15, Granite State, at Saul Goodman's office, Francesca shreds documents while Saul retrieves a duffel bag full of wadded up cash from the ceiling, and that's reminiscent of how he used to hide old coins in his father's corner store. Saul breaks open the wall behind his desk with the We the People wallpaper and takes out his shoebox, which he places in his luggage. He hands over 2 rolls of cash and an attorney business card to Francesca, along with setting up an important phone call meeting on his birthday, November 12th. Saul offers Francesca a hug before she leaves to dispose of the shredded documents, but she just scoffs and walks out. He then takes out a disposable cell phone from his desk drawer and calls Ed, asking for an emergency extraction in coded language. So I actually wanted to focus on a few important lines of dialogue here, one being the line that involves Saul and Francesca talking about her attorney, and the second being Saul telling Francesca to make an important phone call at a certain time and date. There's a few likely possibilities that Saul is talking about Kim and Howard here, so let's go ahead and analyze the dialogue to see what exactly we can interpret from it. Saul tells Francesca that the cops will come looking for her, and that when they do, to tell them to talk to her attorney. Saul hands her a piece of paper and says to tell him that Jimmy sent you.
Okay, when the cops come talk to you, and they will, what are you going to tell them?
Talk to my attorney.
Yeah. Tell them, Jimmy sent you.
2 things here. First off, Jimmy says, tell him, meaning that the attorney must be male. Second, he says, tell him Jimmy sent you, meaning that his attorney is someone who knew Saul during his Jimmy McGill days. And not only is it someone who knew him as Jimmy, but it's also someone who might roll their eyes knowing that Francesca was sent by him. The way that Saul says,
Jimmy sent you.
It's almost like he's admitting defeat or asking for help from someone who he knows will give him a hard time for it. It's also probably someone who he hasn't talked to in a long time and possibly someone who doesn't like him anymore. It could also be someone who owes Jimmy a favor or someone who may help out Jimmy in a time of need, even after Jimmy's transformation into Saul. So, what attorneys could be male that also knew Jimmy back during Better Call Saul that fits the bill? The obvious answer would be Howard, as it can't be Kim since the attorney is male, and Howard is also nowhere to be found in Saul's life during Breaking Bad. I could see Francesca using Howard as their attorney, along with Howard wanting to help out the McGill brothers one last time, possibly offering Jimmy if he's still interested in that job.
Howard.
So, have you thought any more about the job?
But really, Jamie's transformation into Saul is partly what pushed Howard away, and Saul once told Howard that he can still call him Jimmy. So does that connect to the dialogue with the scene with Francesca?
Saul Goodman is my professional name, but my friends still call me Jimmy. You can too.
At the time of this video, Season 6 hasn't been released, so we don't know Howard's true fate. Depending on what Kim and Jimmy might do to Howard and his career, that'll determine his fate and whether he's still practicing law or not by the time that the events of Breaking Bad occur. If Howard's career isn't truly destroyed, even if he does hate Jimmy for what he did to him in Better Call Saul Season 5 and possibly 6, he may lend out a helping hand to Francesca. Look out for a bunch of Howard Season 5 breakdowns and Season 6 predictions in the near future. Honestly, have like 2 to 4 videos I'd like to do about Howard. I've been procrastinating them until recently I've organized them, so expect that soon. Anyways, another option for Francesca's attorney could be 88 Oakley, as he's one of the only other predominant attorneys that we know from Better Call Saul, especially one to cut a deal or work behind closed doors. Sure, we've seen a ton of attorneys and lawyers throughout the show, but no one who really sticks out, and it's not like Jimmy has a bunch of lawyer friends. I doubt that Schweikert and Coakley would save the day, even if Rich seems like he's the type of guy who would bend the rules. And don't hold your breath about Davis and Maine coming in clutch either.
Jimmy! Oh, you could hear this through the door? I didn't realize, I'm sorry.
What do you think you're doing?
Ernesto was a friend, but Chuck fired him back in season 3, and we haven't really seen him since except in a flashback. Plus, it would have to be someone like Oakley, Howard, or even Rich who actually have the confidence to go through with something like that, talking to the police with Francesca about everything that the police might know regarding Saul's criminal business with Walter White and Gus Heisenberg.
You're goddamn right.
Time for a random shot in the dark. Could we get the return of that Crispy Esposito girl from the season 4 scholarship episode?
Christy Esposito.
Yes, Christy.
Yeah.
Some people have been waiting for it to return as well, possibly corrupted. If you have any other suggestions that I've blatantly missed, leave them in the comments and I'll favorite any that I see. Moving on, after Saul speaks to Francesca about her attorney, he takes a pause before bringing up the next subject. He asks her where she's going to be November 12th at 3 p.m.
Okay, and where are you going to be November 12th at 3 p.m.?
I'll be there, but if it doesn't ring at 3 on the dot, I'm gone.
Don't worry, it's going to ring.
According to the Breaking Bad wiki, this scene happens in March 2010, so November would be 8 months away. It was recently confirmed that Saul's birthday is November 12th, 1960, during that episode where Jimmy and Kim get married. That can't be a coincidence that they just shoehorned that date in there. So, what phone call is Saul setting up for Francesca on the afternoon of his 50th birthday? And that's right, it's not just any birthday, because if Saul was born in 1960, 2010 would be his 50th birthday. It must be some sort of pre-planned call that Francesca will have to answer since Saul is going into hiding as Gene. But who's calling? The seriousness of this phone call comes into play when you wonder, why is Saul seemingly only speaking to them at a specific time on his birthday? It must be an annual call, right? Or is it something that Saul set up in case shit ever hits the fan? Maybe it's something special for his 50th birthday. There's just so many variables. Well, Saul has no family left, he has no lifelong friends left. That's really depressing, but this is why the most popular theory is Kim. So let's say that it's hypothetically Kim who Saul plans to speak to on his birthday. It could be a one-time thing, or it could be annual, where they speak to each other on their birthdays to catch up. If it is Kim, why is Saul only able to speak to her at a specific time on his birthday? Is this the first time that they've arranged this phone call, maybe something special for his 50th birthday? Or is this something that happens every year, and it's just the first time that Francesca will have to answer the phone for him? Is Kim in hiding too? Is she in jail? Or is it just a thing that they do to keep in touch? If Kim's in hiding or in jail, then they must be smart enough to know that their phone calls could be listened in on. Maybe they arranged this with payphones? Check out my previous video on Kim's fate for more info on her, but whatever her fate is, it must be serious enough that they need to schedule a call specifically at 3 p.m. on a certain day, especially if they chose Saul's 50th birthday of all days. This must mean that it's difficult for Saul to speak with Kim or whoever this person is. Now, as much as I'd love to sit here all day just gushing about how I hope it's Kim or why I believe it's Kim, because I honestly did think it was her for the longest time, but upon rewatching this scene, there's one thing that makes me believe it actually isn't her. This is because of the way that Francesca acts towards the call.
I'll be there, but if it doesn't ring at 3 on the dot, I'm gone.
Don't worry, it's gonna ring.
She says that she'll be there to answer the phone, but that if it doesn't ring right at 3 p.m. on the dot, that she's gone. This means that Francesca either doesn't know that it's Kim or she doesn't care, and neither of those options seem realistic. Francesca knows Kim, and she really likes Kim. Hell, she likes Kim more than she probably likes Jimmy, or especially Saul. If Francesca knew that she was waiting for a phone call from Kim, she'd be a bit more caring and considerate. Since she likes Kim, or so I thought, she'd be willing to do it and most likely interested, instead of how she acts here where she seems like she couldn't care less and that it's nothing more than a chore for her. If Francesca knew it was Kim who was going to call on November 12th at 3 p.m., she wouldn't just leave if the phone didn't ring exactly at 3. She'd probably get worried and sit around for a bit, wait to make sure that Kim's not just late making the phone call for some reason. The fact that Francesca says that she'll leave if the phone doesn't ring at 3 on the dot implies to me that it's not anyone that she knows or cares about, and that this is just a favor for Jimmy. She's just passing on information. Because of this, she's only putting on the bare minimum when it comes to effort. The only other option is that Saul doesn't tell her that it's Kim, But that can't be true either, right? There's no reason for Saul to withhold that information from Francesca, and she would recognize Kim's voice anyways. Also, Jimmy brought this up to her in such a way as if he's already told her to do this before and he's just reminding her. I assume that even though they don't say who it is out loud for the audience, that Francesca knows who's going to call and or why, and that she's not interested in the reasoning, but that she's obligated to do it for Jimmy anyways. Jimmy says not to worry and that the phone will ring on time. So that means that Jimmy is confident that this person will hold up their end and make the call. So the person that's going to call Francesca is reliable. Again, is it a personal call and they're reliable because it's Kim, or is this a business call of some sort to tie up a loose end? It can't be Mike by this point in Breaking Bad, so who else does Jimmy know? So if it's not Kim, it couldn't be someone like Huel or QB. They worked for Saul Goodman during Breaking Bad, just like Francesca. They definitely know each other. Huel was also taken into custody by the DEA, and that was kind of a loose end, so I doubt that Jimmy is setting Francesca up with Ed the Disappearer either, because if she was, she'd be leaving alongside him. Francesca is the lone soldier in a way that he's leaving behind to clean up the last few things that he needs to get done, because he'll already be going into hiding.
It's an actual store. I guess I figured vacuum cleaner repair was a term of art.
It's possible that Francesca could use Ed later down the road after speaking to the cops, but that only raised suspicion if she disappeared too. I assume that the attorney Saul is setting her up with will clear up any troubles that she has with the law, so that Francesca can go about living the rest of her normal life. And since we see Saul packing his 2 blue suitcases, and he even calls Ed by the end of the flash forward, we know that he already has Ed as a contact, and he's currently preparing to meet him.
I need a new dust filter for my Hoover Max Extract Pressure Pro Model 60. Can you help me with that? A pickup. How hot? Red hot. I know where that is. I'll be there.
Now, if it's a business phone call that he's setting up with Francesca, why would he be planning the business call for his birthday? Since Saul's going into hiding, it's not like he's trying to set up any future endeavors. If it is strictly business related, it's probably for Francesca to help tie up a loose end of some sort. But the thing is, every time I think of someone other than Kim that could be calling Francesca, I ask myself, but why on Saul's birthday? If it was just a random phone call sometime in the future on a random date, even if it was at a specific time, there'd be more options. But the fact that that specific date is Saul's birthday, it just stumps me if I try to make sense of someone calling other than Kim. Unless his birthday has something to do with a loophole on whatever they're planning, the fact that it is his birthday sound like a broken record at this point, me feel like it's a personal call, not a business call. And if it's a personal call, it just has to be Kim. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it is Kim. It's as simple as that. They'll find a way to explain why Francesca doesn't like her anymore for some reason, or why Francesca doesn't care. But that's really out of character for Francesca, and this show isn't known for bad writing. They usually think things through, and they had to have had something in mind when they were foreshadowing this while creating the dialogue for the scene, so what is it? The writers sometimes do self-destructively write themselves into corners to try and find a brilliant way to get themselves out of it. Could this be like the machine gun from Breaking Bad Season 5, where they put this in without actually knowing the answer yet, or did they have something planned? This kinda does feel like the inverse of that, where they're planting the seeds that they'll have to answer for the audience by the end of the series. But I feel like they have something planned. I don't think they'd put in the dialogue about Francesca not caring just because. They clearly had an idea of who Saul and Francesca were talking about, and they kept that name out for a reason, not telling the audience until presumably a future time. So I guess that we're going to get an answer to this at some point in season 6, but how are they going to tie it all together? Is it going to be during a Gene scene, or are we going to get another Breaking Bad flash forward? If the phone call is Kim, how are they going to make it believable that Francesca doesn't care to stick around and wait for it? Maybe I'm remembering season 3 wrong, but I really remember Francesca warming up to Kim and really liking her, especially after Kim's car accident, and then also by the time that they had to close down the office and say their goodbyes. So it could be Kim, we could just ignore wondering why Francesca doesn't care, and that's that. That's the simple answer, but it feels like the lazy way out because it's a flawed conclusion in my opinion. But either this means that Francesca doesn't care about Kim, or that it's hinting that it's not Kim, and instead maybe someone that Francesca doesn't know personally. Maybe it involves someone Francesca doesn't care about, but regardless, there must be a reason why Francesca is seemingly only doing this out of obligation. Can you answer the Francesca phone call dilemma? If it's Kim, why did Francesca respond that way? And if it's not Kim, who else could it be? I love and appreciate all the comments that you leave, and I'll be interested to hear your responses and just season 6 predictions in general. But if I see a bunch of, oh, it's Kim, Kim obviously comments, I also want an explanation as to why Francesca doesn't give a rat's ass and why I'm probably overthinking this, because that's the one thing that's stopping me from putting the nail in the coffin to Kim being the answer to this theory. I'd love to just be able to give you a solid answer, but Francesca cares about Kim. Would she really tell Jimmy that if it doesn't ring right at 3, I'm gone, if it actually was Kim calling? Now, I'm not hating on people who think the answer is Kim. I did too for the longest time, but the Francesca dilemma changed that and stumped me. Again, maybe I'm overthinking it, maybe I'm the one being silly, let me know, and if it's warranted, I can always create a follow-up video. Anyways, thanks to everyone who continues to watch my videos and support the channel, especially during the off season. I'm still trying to upload as much as I can, and honestly, how often I upload just depends on how long each video takes. These Season 5 breakdowns and Season 6 prediction videos have been taking a bit longer to produce, as there's a lot of effort going into gathering resources, planning, and fact-checking everything before I've even begun to record or edit, and that's another can of worms. Now, I'm looking into getting a better computer to work on the channel with, as I really need an upgrade. It's kind of embarrassing. If you looked at my current setup and specs, you'd laugh. I have a really old laptop, the fan's really loud, it overheats a lot. I'm sure you get the picture, but if you've ever wondered what a slight humming noise is in the background of my videos, well, that's my computer fan going crazy the longer I take to record this video, so I get a new computer, I won't have to worry about that as much anymore. And yes, I already use noise removal, it's just so loud. I'll be able to pump out videos way quicker, as I'll be able to complete tasks more fluently and efficiently. I'll still talk way too fast, but I won't be completely waiting for my editing program to load things every 5 seconds I try to edit. It's going to be night and day for me once I upgrade. So anything that I've earned, I'll be putting back into the channel to be able to continue to upgrade and improve my content and consistency. Also, if you'd like to help and support me as a creator, the best way to show it is by joining my Patreon. I've recently had a few signups and it completely caught me off guard. I really appreciate it, and since some of you have wanted to sign up and show your support, I figured I'd give the Patreon a shout out in this video, along with just a bit more attention and acknowledgement from now on in general. Now, I appreciate you all still liking the video, leaving a comment if you have anything to say, along with watching the video until the end. You've all been doing a great job for helping keep this channel alive. All the good stats and analytics that you give my videos really helps in the YouTube algorithm, so I couldn't do it without you. But for those of you who might just want to pitch in a little bit extra, because it's not like I do live streams and get super chats or donations or anything, there you go, the Patreon's there, it's an option. And as always, I thank you guys all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Guess, that's it. Quite right, huh?
I hear Cracker Barrel has excellent air.